I am a storyteller, and I do teach people how to formulate their presentations in such a way that the structure of their presentations is based on time-tested, millennially tested story structures. It works. I've done this for very large companies, and it's dramatically effective. I'm not going to tell you about that today because you've already had a lot of stuff about narrative, right? And so, don't want to double up. What I'm going to tell you about today, tell you about is not quite accurate. You're going to be joining in. It's audience participation time. Oh no, tough, the door is locked. What I'd like to do with you today is a session about delivery, what you do when you're standing in the room with your audience and how you make that connection with the audience. How, as a storyteller, which we all instinctively do, you make that one-to-one relationship with every single member of your audience, no matter the size. Does that make sense? Do you believe that you can do that? Well, now and again. One of the most fundamental ways in which you make that connection with your audience is through your voice. There is a thing known as the somatic response. If you listen to somebody's voice and it has a certain emotional energy in it, it's carrying a current, as a listener, you process the feeling before you process the words. Does that make sense? You process it in your body. In other words, you reflect it, you feel it. This is why it's very powerful. And some people will say, oh no, there's no need to do any of that because now we've got microphones. This is true, but the trouble with that is all a microphone does is make a voice louder. If you have a feeble and an ineffectual voice, which of course you don't, but were you to have one of those, using a microphone then just means that everybody can easily hear how feeble and ineffectual your voice is. And that energetic thing is very palpable. I remember when I did my MA voice, during induction, as everybody was being welcomed, all these international students and people from England and Wales and Scotland and all over were being welcomed to the graduate faculty of this leading drama college. The head of the graduate faculty welcomed us all, and there he was, and I closed my eyes to listen, and he was saying, welcome to what is going to be an exciting, dynamic, transformative, paradigm-shifting period in your life. Well, the words and the speech didn't match. You can feel that, can't you? Yeah? Would you agree? Good. So what I'm going to do with the rest of this session is I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you some tools which I hope in this one session you will hear yourself sounding different. Does that make sense? Yeah? And it will also give you some tools, very simple but fundamental tools, which you can take home today, and you'll be able to remember how to use them to develop the strength and the flexibility of your voice. Does that sound interesting to you? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Good. Now, to start, of course, being a storyteller, I have to tell you a little story. But I'll make it very quick. There was a prince, and everybody said he was the most wonderful prince the kingdom had ever seen. And all his teachers told the king, his father, that he was the best student they'd ever had. Nobody had been better at riding horses than this prince. Nobody was a better swordsman. Well, they all told this, and the king was, oh, I fancy it takes that from me. He's got to chip off the old block. His archery master told the king, Your Majesty, I think he might simply be the best archer there ever has been. And even the king couldn't claim that as a reflection on himself. Well, one day, this archer prince was walking through his own kingdom. He wanted to get to know the land that would once be his responsibility through his feet. And so he was walking, and he was walking through a fairly ramshackle farmyard, and he saw there was a wooden fence, and all along that wooden fence was a line of targets, each one of them a perfect circle of red. Inside that a ring of yellow, and in the very center a circle of blue, and in the very center of those circles jutted arrows. And the archers, the prince, that's the most astonishing accuracy and consistency that I have ever seen. And he was wondering, I must have discovered a secret master who I could learn from. and improve my skills even more. At that moment, a young girl came round from the other side of the farmyard, a girl with pigtails and a smock on. She was carrying a chicken on her way to feed the chickens. She said, "Hello, sir, you all right? Can I help you?" He said, "I was wondering, this archery, this is extraordinary. Who is it who's achieved this?" He said, "Oh, I did that." What? Well, now the prince was thinking, if a girl can do this, then I could probably exceed her. Yeah, he was cool, but he was also of his time. So, and you've done this from the competition distance of 25 paces? Yes, of course. And using a standard competition bow? Duh, yes. Well, you want to see how it's done? Yes, of course. And she put down the bucket and she ran round the house and she came back with a bow in one hand and an arrow in the other, and an arrow drilled into an ordinary piece of fence with no target. It was still quivering as she dropped the bow, ran back round the house, came back round the other side, clutching some tins and a brush. And she ran up to that fence and drew a circle of red, a circle of yellow, and one of blue. Well, wouldn't it be lovely if we could all set our own targets as conveniently as that? We can't, can we? However, I'm going to suggest that vocal development and development of your skill in delivery is a target you must and should set yourself. Should is obvious. Must? Well, set it for yourself, because nobody else is going to tell you how. Most of the people higher up the food chain, if they are good at presenting, it's probably by instinct and accident rather than conscious training. Does that make sense? So, good. I'd like